Today at Hot Pole Studios we're going to see what the sonic difference is between a kick drum skin without a hole and one with. Now, admittedly, this is kind of the roughest looking kick drum skin hole in the world, but I am going to refine it a bit and we're going to try installing this kick port. Doing that will be our next port of call. Sorry, bad pun, bad pun. Okay, so here's how the kick sounds with the two mics with the front skin with no hole. Okay, so this is with the hole in the kick drum skin. Everything else set up tuning same as before. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, and for the last time, this is the kit with the kick port. So, if you're listening on headphones or on decent monitors where you can hear the low end clearly, you'll probably hear quite a difference there. And I expected to hear a difference, but it didn't quite come out the way that in my mind I thought it would, so be interested to see in the comments what you guys thought. A few notes about the way that we recorded this and the details. So on the kick drum there are two microphones. In the shot you can't really see, but inside the kick drum is an Audix D6. It's just off the centre so that it's not in kind of a resonance mode, and it's in there. We installed the D6 on a little kind of T-shaped stand before putting both heads on the drum. The XLR goes up through what's kind of the tom holder. Neil Peart from Rush quite a lot uses a kick drum without a hole in the skin. That's his preference, and I was reading a big article on how the engineer does it, because an inside kick microphone really brings out that punch and attack to the sound, as you could hear when we compared the D6 to the Origin, the inside versus the outside. In terms of dampening in the kick drum, there's one single pillow that's just kind of, it's a thin one and it's just touching end to end. I didn't want to overly dampen the drum. I didn't want it to sound like one of those kind of dull thwacks. I wanted it to sound relatively natural, but I do like to use some kind of dampening, because otherwise the low note in a kick drum can ring, and in a lot of music that's really destructive to the mix, because there's just a boom boom going on, and gating on a low resonance can be quite awkward. If I can, I try not to use gates wherever possible. Inevitably I do end up using some gating on like a hyper realistic rock track, but as little as possible, you know. I think it's interesting to note as well that each sound is different. That doesn't necessarily make any of them bad. I'm sure they're all appropriate to different genres. I found it interesting how it sounded more controlled with a hole in the kick drum skin. And then it was really interesting to me as well how the whole note seemed lower on the kick drum once the KickPort was installed. And I did use a drum dial to make sure the tension on the head was the same before and after I installed it. So my only theory there is that because that KickPort's quite heavy, the increased mass on the skin maybe was making it resonate at a lower frequency. That's my guess. As you could see from the start of the video as well, when I cut that hole out of the skin, it was quite a rough shape. It wasn't particularly pretty. That's because I did it freehand. But there are tools you can get from Gibraltar and Aquarian and other brands where you can cut them nice and smooth. I think the one from Gibraltar you just put on and you draw a circle with it and it cuts it. The one from Aquarian you stick on and it's like a reinforcement ring as well. There are different ways of doing that much more neatly than I did it there. Something that I would expect a lot of people to say in the comments is, oh, the sound would have been much more different if you'd put a microphone in front of where the hole was going to be and then where the KickPort was going to be. And yeah, that's true. That's fair. But I think at that point, we're almost spoiling our own results, because instead of listening to the change for the drum, we would then be listening to changes in microphone position. Because if I was to put a microphone right up to the resonant skin with no hole and then cut a hole and have the microphone pointed in the same place, the microphone's essentially then pointed at the beater on the batter side, but from further back. So it's completely changed the position, and then if you put a KickPort in and have that mic'd up, that would then be the sound of the reflex through the KickPort. Now, live, if I'm doing a live recording, that is usually where I would put a microphone, because you get kind of the maximum output from there, and it can be quite convenient to do. And that's one of the main reasons why people cut a hole in a kick drum skin, is because it makes it easier to get a microphone in and out and positioned at the beater, so it doesn't just sound like you're slapping wet cardboard. Especially live, you probably want an exaggerated slap and attack so that the kick drum can cut through the rest of the band much more easily. I always find that live, you want exaggerations of sound, where in the studio you can go for something that's quite a bit more natural. It's worth noting as well that it did say in the text, but it's worth reinforcing here, that of all the microphones that we used here, there was no EQ, there was no compression, we didn't even use a high-pass filter on anything. This is all just straight off the mic. So anything you would do to process each drum, that's up to you, but this is to give you an idea of how the source would change before any of that processing. So any of the changes, if you like the way it sounds a particular way, if you were to then enhance that with an EQ or bring that out with compression, it would just do it more so. So that just about wraps it up for the main portion of this video. So I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's helping us out on Patreon, because this kind of video is really done by being sponsored by you guys. So if anyone's not helped us out on Patreon and is considering it, we would really appreciate it. If you can't, no big deal, that's fine. But that's the kind of thing that really helps us out. It means that we don't have to have sponsorship from outside companies too much. It means that we can stay fairly neutral and say this is how this sounds and be as, manufacturer neutral as possible, which I'm sure is what most people would want from a channel like this. There's plenty more videos coming. What have we got? Let's look at the list. So there's a video on a Slingerland Radio King, which is a snare drum that is very, very good quality and also very rare. It's from 1938. It's 15 by 8. It's a cannon. So that'll be interesting to show you as soon as I can. The Aston Starlights, which were the overheads in this video, they're getting their own video soon. The Aston Origin, which was on the resonant head of the kick drum, is also a great vocal mic and a great guitar cab mic, and that's getting its own video as well. And there's so much more coming. I'm going to be at home doing a lot of editing over the next few weeks while our new baby keeps us awake and keeps us constantly tired. So yes, thank you everybody, and enjoy the new ending, which I just had a chance to make, by the way, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out our other videos, as you can find here, or check out our Facebook and Twitter, or our Patreon page, which helps us to make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.